Hey guys, Chev here with another Fantasy Grounds tips video. Today I want to talk to you guys about the Combat Tracker. The Combat Tracker is pretty cool, especially as a DM. I can keep track of lots of information about you guys. Like for instance, I can click this little fist and it will show me all your ability scores right off the bat, so that's kind of nice to know. I can also click this little offense category here, this sword, and it will show me your initiatives, your AC, your speeds, so that's cool too. This one here shows me your size and reach, but I don't fill that information in on Fantasy Grounds, so I don't really use that very much. This last one here shows effects. What's cool about that is, let's go ahead and put Kelgion here on the board, on the map. I can open up effects here. Let's say he's charmed by someone, as Kelgion might be. Okay, and it says effects charmed. I can expand this and I can see more details about the effect. I can change details here if I want to. I can change whether it's active or going to skip a use. You can set to skip off or on. I can set whether it's visible to all or visible to just the GM, so maybe only I can see this effect. So that's kind of nice. I think it defaults to visible to all. Whether this effect affects all rolls, because some of these effects might, it involves disadvantage and stuff like that. Or is it just gonna, is this effect gonna last for one action or one roll, or apply each once? So default is all. There's some other stuff here you can set the duration. I'm not totally sure what initiative to adjust on means. I'm also not sure what this effect target stuff is. I'd have to go look that up. I don't really use it to that degree, so I'll just delete it there. Okay, so there is one thing about Audubon that, from my last video, that I screwed up on. I'm going to go ahead and delete tokens here and bring Audubon out instead. I'm going to delete it because I just added it between recordings here, but he has an ability, so I'm going to delete the category too. He has an ability called Words of Terror. It's a bard ability. He can take someone aside and whisper to them, and if they fail a wisdom saving throw, they're frightened of him for 1 hour. So I come in here and I wanted to manually create one, and I totally didn't remember how to create a new spell, a custom spell. So I went and figured it out, and let's go ahead and add that real fast. So Words of Terror. Okay, and then I'm going to change this to group down here, display, which gives us this little field and tells you what group it's in. Spells, and that there are different levels. They separate into these different categories. I'm not going to worry about that right now because this is just a once per short rest power, so you're just going to have to manually keep track of it. But I'm going to put it in the powers group here. And once this powers group notices it has something that specifies that group, you can click this magnifying glass right here. And the first thing I'm going to do is, because we didn't drag the class onto the sheet, it didn't set the spell casting ability. And for bards, it's charisma. So I'm going to set it for this category. I don't know of a way to set it for everything. But I do know spells is the same category even though there's two and showing for different levels. So you can click one magnifying glass, change it, so it just says spells. It doesn't say anything about level, and it will change it for all the other level categories too. So that's nice at least. But yeah, I do have to set it for power, so anything under the powers category. And I think I could create different category names, but I digress. Let's go ahead and close this. Now that that's there, we can go ahead and add stuff to this. Now, if I didn't change that, and I'll go change it back in a second, I'll show you. But you right-click the item, and then there's this little arrow, Add Action, and there's Add Cast, Add Damage, Add Heal, and Add Effect. Cast is the first thing we want to start with because it has a saving throw. It has a DC 13 saving throw. It was a Wisdom saving throw. So I think we just change this to Wisdom. So under Save here. And you'll notice that that works right off the bat. Wisdom DC 13 out there. It's not half damage on. There is no damage with this spell, so we're done there. And then we're gonna go ahead and add a effect, Frightened. And this one's a little weird. You have to use their weird syntax. So you have to type effects : space and then Frightened. I think you don't. I think the space is optional. But yeah, you have to kind of learn some of their syntax for some of these things. And then to apply multiple effects, you could just do a comma and a space. So it's a pretty straightforward syntax, but it does matter. They parse like a text field for this stuff, which is interesting. I don't have to set the duration, but it does last for 1 hour, so I can change the unit type here, the duration unit, and then set that to 1, so for 1 hour. There are other things that can cause it to frighten to go away though too, and those will have to be manually tracked. Like if their teammate gets attacked, I think it goes away. But anyway, so I can collapse that. Now notice, so Wisdom DC 13, that's exactly what it was supposed to be. It's a Wisdom DC 13. Even says Charisma save in the tooltip there. If I go ahead and change this back to blank like it was, you'll notice it says Wisdom DC 10, so it's wrong. You can fix that on this thing by just changing this to 8 plus ability and then setting the Charisma ability. You're basically manually forcing it to calculate using a Charisma stat. But I don't know what group DC plus means, but it's the default, and you can leave it default as long as you change ability for the category to the proper ability to Charisma. Oops. There we go. And so then you're fine. You're good to go. So you have to make sure you do that for the category. Then I can collapse this. Okay. So that's cool. We created a manual power. If you guys ever need to do that, you can fiddle with that. I think you are able to control your sheets enough to do that. You can also change this to summary, and you can add summaries like, oh, in case you need to remember, once per short rest, if they or a teammate are attacked, they are no longer frightened, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Those fields are basically for your notes, which is kind of cool. I usually tend to leave it on actions just because then I get the cool little buttons. All right, let's get to some of the fun stuff. We've added that. Let's go ahead and give Audavon some combat stuff. I'm going to go to NPCs. I've already searched for a bandit. You can manually create entries in the combat tracker. So I could create a hostile entry here, something hostile, and then I could give it a manual token. Like, I don't know, here's a blue creepy dude token. And then I can drag that token out onto the map, and I can give him some health. And that's, I can give him some other stuff. So quickly create stuff on the fly. That's kind of nice. I can even say something hostile for unidentified, and then for identified, I can say big blob thing. And then while it's unidentified, if they hover over it, it says something hostile. While it's identified, if you hover over it, it says big blob thing. So that's a cool way to keep track of some unknown enemies. But I'm going to actually add an enemy from the NPC list here. I'm going to add a few bandits. So let's go ahead and add some 4 monster manual bandits. I think they're pretty much the same thing, no matter which one of these they come from. But let's go with that just for... Okay, and then we'll add a bandit captain. Okay. Just for fun, we'll say that Audavon's just sitting here enjoying his meal. I'm going to make these guys visible, these little eyeballs. Make them visible. And they come in and they say Audavon owes them some money, owes their boss some money. Okay. These guys surround Audavon. The captain stands here, kind of arms folded, watching Audavon eat and conversing with him, telling him he's about to go down. You'll notice these automatically rolled initiatives when I added them, or somehow. I'm not sure why that is. I'm going to go ahead and reset initiatives, though, just to... There. And then it kind of sorts them alphabetically, I think, at that point, or something. Not sure. Anyway, Audavon, upon being confronted, wants to attack. His only way out is going to be to fight. So I'm going to click my token if I'm Audavon, and you'll see this little gray aura around his token. I'm going to hold down Control and click each of these guys because I'm about to cast Thunderwave, and they are all within a 15-foot cube. These are each 5 squares right here. So, yeah, and you can even see they're all less than 15 feet away. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to then double-click Audavon, and I'm going to see Thunderwave here under Spells Level 1, and I'm going to click this DC save, which normally if you just click it, it just says the save in the chat, and then everyone has to go off and manually do their save. Well, now that I have targets, you can see that some failed. These 3 failed, and this one succeeded, and this one failed. It automatically forced all of them to roll their own saving throws, using their own saving throw modifiers and all that stuff, which is cool. So it's just +1 for these guys. The captain gets a +2 for his Constitution save. And that's it. So the only one who saved is Bandit 3. Now you'll notice out here I have all the targets. If nobody took damage on a successful save, then the guy who saved, it would have automatically untargeted. So Bandit 3 right here. It would have automatically untargeted him if he wasn't going to still take damage. But because it's half damage on a save, now when I roll the Thunderwave damage, you'll see that they all took the same 9 damage except this guy who took half rounded down, which is 4. So if we look out here, you can see the damage indicators now. This guy's a captain, so he's wounded, but he's still fine. He's not hurting too bad. These guys are red because they've taken heavy damage. And this guy's yellow because he only took half damage. Also, you'll notice he's untargeted now. So if there are further effects for Thunderwave, like say there's an effect button like this one here, I could click that now, and it would only apply to the remaining targeted people. This guy's saved. So he was targeted long enough to do half damage to him, but then after that, it untargets automatically, which is kind of cool. This works the same way if you use attack rolls. So if I now say, if Ottovon tries to stab each of them once with a dagger, I know it's not an AoE ability, but we'll pretend. We'll just double click that field for the dagger attack roll, and you'll see he misses Bandit 2, he hits the Bandit Captain, misses Bandit 4, and misses Bandit 1. So all the targets he missed on are no longer targeted. Now if I roll the dagger damage, you can see that it does 4 damage to the Captain only, because he's the only remaining target. So targeting in Fantasy Grounds is awesome. Not just for combat too, because now I can go as the GM, and I can say, oh, this guy's targeting Ottovon. Let's say that there's someone else here in the pub, and this guy's actually targeting him. We'll say we have even more party members here, and this guy are both targeting Sakar, and then this guy's still targeting Ottovon. I can now go through each of their turns and see who they're targeting. I don't have to. I could even shift click each of them to select multiple tokens and see the different targets. And I can even change them all at once and say, hey, oh, we're targeting this guy too. They can have multiple targets. See, this guy's targeting him and him. And so there's all sorts of complex scenarios you can set up here, and it makes it easy to remember everything. So I can see this guy is targeting both Lou and Ottovon. This guy's targeting Sakar and Ottovon. I don't know, say they have some ability that can go in a straight line through people. I have no idea. But that's the true power of Fantasy Grounds, is being able to have these targets and then just do all these rolls. It makes combat so much faster. Let's go ahead and remove these here. One thing I learned is that if you go to your sheet and you roll initiative off the main tab, so if you double click the init field here, it automatically gives you an initiative, so 7. So he should be at the top now because nobody else has an initiative. So Ottovon rolled initiative and automatically inputs that in the combat tracker. I can roll initiative for everyone, and it will do that for me. But every time I want to say roll for initiative, and then I'm like, oh wait, I'll roll it for you, and I kind of hate that. So I'm actually glad that these initiative rolls on the sheets fill it in, because now I'm having my players do that, which is actually more fun, to be honest. Okay, I believe there's a way as the GM to remove all targets on the map, so clear all targets. Oh, it's only for the highlighted token. Oh, alright, well. Clear targets, clear targets. Don't worry about this toolbar here. I don't think that the players have access to that. I think only the GM does. Or even if they do have access to it, I don't think they have access to it as long as I have this locked. I'm not sure, but it's easier to just use the control click anyway. Okay, let's see, select Ottovon there, and then control click. Cool. I think that's it for automatic stuff. Is there anything else to go over? Let's look at the sheet real fast. No, I really think that's it. Just have targets when you're using these abilities, and things go really fast, which is very nice. Awesome. Well, thanks, guys. We'll catch you in another video in the future.